Thank you. So as we said, this is we're hoping to talk specifically today about proposals related to IYS expansion in northern and southern health regions. And just to get us started, I think the first slide talks about the core components of integrated youth services. Certainly, we as the backbone team, we're on a learning curve in terms of the integrated youth services movement internationally, nationally, and how we're seeing it here in Manitoba. But what we understand is that there is some core components or core services that are really important to the integrated youth services model that we're looking to scale here in Manitoba. So you'll see on this visual that mental health, substance use support, peer support, primary care in terms of physical and sexual reproductive health, social services, and Indigenous programming are what we understand to be the 6 key components of integrated youth services models and the integrated youth services hubs in our province. We also know that the intent is that these hubs be driven by really meaningful engagement, and you'll see on the side there from youth, from caregivers and families, and from community members, both in the delivery of services, but most importantly in the design of them. So as you're thinking about potential call for proposals, we hope that you're thinking about engaging youth from the outset right now as you're looking to pull together a proposal. Go to the next slide, Alicia. Just to give you a picture of what IYS looks like across Canada, we know that this movement started internationally in Australia. The IYS movement is known as Headspace. In Ireland, we understand it's called Jigsaw, is what their brand identity is. Here in Canada, IYS has really taken hold in BC and Ontario. In BC, you'll see on the map, it's Foundry BC, and that's a brand name that was driven by a really thoughtful and intentional youth engagement process. In Ontario, it's Youth Wellness Hubs Ontario. And we also know that in Quebec, there's Air Ouvert. And for those that speak French, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but we'll keep trying to get better at that. And also Access Open Minds, very involved in integrated youth services in different sites across Canada. Here in Manitoba, we have very recently branded our IYS initiative as Huddle, and we'll have a little bit more about that in a few minutes. In terms of what IYS is intended to do, we understand that the scaling of IYS across Manitoba is really a platform for systems transformation. And I won't read what's all on these slides because they'll be available to you as you look at the recording, or we certainly can provide you with these as you go through your proposal development process. But here's the opportunities that IYS is seen as responding to, all focused on enhancing access to integrated services for youth, young adults, and their families. Alicia, if you don't mind going to the next one. And again, acknowledging that this isn't new for everyone here, and that many of you have been working towards this type of a transformation for a while. But if it is, here's what we're looking at in terms of the from and to. Moving from perhaps a siloed model of care to something that's much more integrated, something that's much more accessible and easy to find for youth. And that is a big part of what the brand identity is about, that these services are recognizable to youth. I know that when I was in Ireland, I saw Jigsaw, didn't know what it was then, but I remember seeing Jigsaw and the brand identity that went with it. Creating clear pathways of care and making sure that the services that we're looking to structure and the youth hubs we're looking to structure are truly youth friendly, and that they engage and welcome youth in a way that perhaps hasn't happened in all cases to this point. The next one, Alicia. So just more specifics about IYS in Manitoba. Again, we know that many folks have been talking about this for a while. A big significant step in IYS in Manitoba came in 2020 when we established the Manitoba Youth Hubs Initiative. That initiative is an initiative of government of Manitoba with a number of philanthropic partners on board as funding partners, including United Way Winnipeg. we see it, we understand it as a platform for systems transformation. We understand that it requires an all-of-government approach. So that is a really, really important component of this. And we have Sarah Kasdorf from Department of Mental Health and Community Wellness with us today. That's the department that's driving it, but we also understand that it touches on many other departments of government. And the collective vision for IYS in Manitoba is to improve mental health and addiction services for young people, ages 12 to 29. And we can tell you more about that 12 to 29 age range as we're talking to you more over the course of you developing your proposal, but that's a very deliberate decision around 12 to 29. Next slide, Alicia. I'm just watching my time. Am I okay so far?
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know about what the infrastructure for IYS in Manitoba looks like at this point. It's certainly been in development since that formal launch of IYS driven by the province of Manitoba in 2020. So right now we have a strategic steering committee that is looking to guide, direct, drive this systems transformation. Strategic Steering Committee has representation from government for sure, also from shared health, different components of shared health, from philanthropy, and it is chaired right now by Ben Fry from Shared Health and Kathy Newsom from United Way Winnipeg. That strategic steering committee meets regularly, and they will be the ones that will be looking at the recommendations for the funding of the new sites in the northern and southern health regions. We also have an administrative host for the initiative, which is United Way Winnipeg and the Backbone team. And Alicia introduced us. We have a Backbone team of 5 at this point, and that's consistent with what we're seeing in other provinces, like BC and Ontario. One of the initial steps in 2020, 2021 was looking at establishing an IYS network for youth hubs, IYS youth hubs across the province that are interested in coming together to build capacity, share experiences. So after the funding for the 5 new sites was announced in March of 2021, an IYS network was established very, very shortly after that and has been meeting since April of 2021. So certainly new hub sites that come on would be welcome and encouraged to join that IYS network. And I have to say, we're also seeing opportunities to evolve the network. I know that we have folks online here from the link today, and we understand that there is other entities across the province that are very interested in this IYS model as well. So opportunities to look at expanding the involvement in that network. Another part of our infrastructure is a Youth Advisory Council, or the YAC. That's something that we have, and I'm seeing Jessalee nod. It's great to have Jessalee here today as a representative from that Youth Advisory Council. One of our roles as a Backbone team is to support youth in coming together, and that's youth that are representing all of the youth hub sites across Manitoba as they exist now, and in addition to youth from other areas that don't yet have youth hub sites in place. We have an operations working group, and the managers, coordinators from the youth hub sites come together regularly to talk about operations issues, share their learning, share their thoughts, share things that are working well, things that are not working well, and that's been a really important part of our infrastructure. Another critical piece is a clinical innovation working group, and our role as a Backbone team is to support and convene that group. So that has representation from different health authorities, from different community agencies focused on support to youth, particularly in the area of mental health and substance use, and lots of work going on in the within that group in terms of supporting or driving the complex systems transformation that's required to support this IYS model. And lastly, just wanted to let you know that Manitoba, we are part of what is referred to as a federation of IYS networks. That map you saw earlier in the slides, IYS initiatives are evolving in virtually every province and territory across Canada. Some are further along in their development than others, but there is a federation of IYS networks that has begun to meet to share learning, to share ideas, and to support each other in startups. So that's a really big part of what we see as our opportunity here in Manitoba, is to belong and participate in that federation. Very quickly, where we're at, just a little bit of history. The formal work around Manitoba Youth Hubs Initiative started in late 2020. There was a call for proposals back then. Many of you were aware of that and involved in that. At that point, we thought we would be able to, we hoped we'd be able to fund 3 new youth hub sites, and we were able to, with increased philanthropic support and some of the unique ways the proposals came in, to fund 5. The formal launch of those 4 of those 5 new sites happened in May of this year, and we have 2 of those sites with us today to tell us more about their journey in getting to that point. Quick little map just to show you where the existing sites are. 4 of our IYS sites that fall under the Huddle brand identity right now are within Winnipeg. 2 are outside of Winnipeg. And certainly one of the recommendations that we were seeing is that we need to expand that IYS presence outside of Winnipeg, particularly in the northern and southern health regions. Therefore, the call that just came out this month. This is the last bit that we really want to emphasize in terms of when you're looking at putting together a proposal, some of the key components of a proposal, and this is based on some of the learning we've had over the past while in the establishment of the new hub sites, is that it's really important that there be a lead agency and core IYS service partners coming together that represent those 6 core services that we shared in the graphic at the beginning. Lots of thought going into how the governance structure would be for your new hub site that would really support that goal of working differently and working in an integrated manner. The expectation that there would be network involvement and opportunity to work under the brand identity, and that's all to support that access and recognizability for youth. Youth and family engagement critical, and again, emphasizing from the outset, really encouraging proposals to consider how youth are engaged at this point in shaping how your hub might look and how that might take shape. Co-location, really important component for us here in Manitoba. We're seeing that as really critical, and that clinical innovation piece, being involved in that, knowing that that's complex, takes time, but that we need to be working on that together. And participation in a common evaluation framework. That's a huge piece of the work that we're working to support as a backbone team. It's a phased approach. It's a continuum of development of that, and we're well into that. Lots of work to do, but certainly the existing IYS Huddle sites are reporting regularly to us in terms of performance and impact. Some of the challenges we've seen over the past year in the startup of the sites, certainly the notion of working differently, that takes time, that takes a lot of work, a lot of thinking. So that's been a real challenge. The impacts of COVID have made that even more difficult. And what we've seen is escalating costs, supply chain issues, and the hub sites you'll hear from can certainly speak to that in terms of what that meant to their renovations of their co-located space. And the realities of bringing together this needed service partnerships and the service capacity that exists. Some of the challenges we're hearing is the availability of the mental health expertise, the mental health clinicians that are needed for the site, and accessing nurse practitioners and those sorts of things has been really challenging for some as well. So happy to work those through with you. Just 2 other sites or 2 other slides before we move on, and I won't go through all of these, but just wanted to let you know that as you're working through your proposal, we are more than happy to connect with you and talk through clinical innovation, and the next slide is evaluation. There's so much to say about those 2 areas in this info session. We don't feel like we have time to go through those, and we know you'd probably rather hear from the Huddle sites. So we won't do that, but if you have questions, we would love to talk to you. So please do reach out and we can share more about that. So Alicia, I'm hoping that I'm on time as I turn it back to you and Kelsey to talk a little bit about the brand identity process and how our Manitoba Youth Hubs initiative came to be known as Huddle.
Great. Thanks, Pam. I'm just going to queue up our next slide deck, and then I'll ask Kelsey to jump in and join us.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm Kelsey. My pronouns are she, her. And I worked really closely with Alicia on the brand process, as well as with Uphouse, which is the marketing agency that we engaged to help us develop a new name and brand. So before we went on this process, our name formally was the Manitoba Youth Hubs Integrated Youth Services Initiative, which is a great name, but it is a bit of a mouthful and it's not the most youth friendly. It's one of the lessons learned from other jurisdictions that they shared with us, how important it was to really bring youth into helping to choose and shape the name and brand itself. We know that the more it can resonate with youth and the more that they feel connected to it, the better they'll be able to see our hubs in different parts of the province and know, okay, that's where I can go for help. Just some examples in other jurisdictions. In Australia, it's called Headspace. In Pam mentioned in Ireland, it's called Jigsaw. In Canada, we have a couple. We have Foundry in BC, and we have Youth Wellness Hubs Ontario in Ontario. So we really wanted to bring a similar process here to Manitoba with Manitoba youth to see what resonates with them. We're very proud of our process. We were able to bring in over 100 youths from different parts of the province to help us choose our name and brand, which, as you folks should know, is Huddle, here for youth. We found that the name Huddle really captured the essence of what we heard over and over again from the youth in our workshops, which is that youth are looking for warmth, connection, and support to help them through the challenges they face. So let's go into a little bit more about what do we mean when we say here for youth. It means that when youth are struggling with mental or physical health, addictions, tough life stuff, or anything else, the last thing youth need is to feel isolated or confused in the process of seeking help. So Huddle will do everything we can to clear a path forward together. We'll build honest connections and trust, helping youth the way they want to be helped, and disrupting mental health services as we know them. We'll help reduce long wait times, break down silos, and ultimately transform how youth and families feel supported in their darkest moments in Manitoba. If we're successful, we'll build a community that leans on each other and that makes youth feel loved and cared for when they need it most, changing lives and sometimes even saving them. Huddle, here for youth.
Thanks so much, Kelsey. I'm just going to hop in for a few minutes and talk a little bit about our youth engagement process that we underwent to develop the name and brand. And like Kelsey mentioned, we met with over 100 youth in about a 3-ish week time span in October. And we were able to have 6 in-person sessions as well as 5 remote sessions. And we did some surveys and things like that as well. And it was just a really wonderful opportunity to engage with and meet with and learn from youth from a variety of different backgrounds and experiences to help ensure that our brand resonated with youth from different backgrounds and experiences. So in order to bring together a group like that, we actually partnered with a number of different organizations within Winnipeg and across the province. So they're all listed on the right-hand side. And we hosted these workshops together where we, like the photo for our in-person sessions, we sat down and had a meal together and just got to know each other and really build some of that trust and relationship. And then we got into learning a little bit more about what they envisioned and what they had dreamed about in terms of what a youth hub could look like. And so what that really felt like was some questions were things like, what would a world with and without youth hubs look like? So on the left-hand side, we have the words of comfort, belonging, inclusivity, humility, bright, warm, welcoming. And on the other side, world without, we have words like isolated, misunderstood, intergenerational trauma, cold, and dark. And so we really heard this message pretty loud and clear. We also wanted to approach these sessions ensuring that we were engaging in a meaningful way and in a safe way. So we actually had some young individuals that were contracted through our marketing agency to kind of use a peer-led approach. One of our peer leaders was a queer young woman from Winnipeg who joined us, and then we also had a gender diverse individual from the Churchill area that joined us as well. And they did such a phenomenal job peer facilitating these sessions and really creating that kind of like just really open environment where you could just share and you didn't have to like hold anything back, and it was a really great way to do that. So through these sessions, like I mentioned, we talked about a little bit of a world with and without. We also had some virtual sessions that we did some like mind mapping and things like that. And again, looking for words that would come up to inspire the brand. And some other words that really came through were things like diversity and community and safety. And so through all of these, I think it was 11 different sessions and 100 youth, we really created like this list of words and this list of feelings. We had drawings and things like that. And we came up with the name Huddle, which actually came from 2 of the sessions, which was brainstormed by the youth at those sessions. One was from our group that was of 12 to 14-year-olds. We wanted to give them a specific opportunity to engage with us, and they had come up with the suggestion of Huddle, as well as our group of Filipino youth from Winnipeg, from a Filipino youth serving agency. So we brought this name Huddle back to our Youth Advisory Council, and we asked for their thoughts. And these were some of the things that they mentioned: that it was simple yet warm and welcoming, that it gave off comfort. It sounds like a great way to warm up, as well as giving the feeling of connection and bonding between peers. So that really gave us the indication that we were moving in a good direction and that it was resonating with the youth. We also had a couple other options as well that we were kind of working with at this point. But we decided, based on this feedback, that we felt really comfortable with Huddle, and so then we moved on to talk to some more of our stakeholders. So for example, we talked to the executive directors of our other Huddle Youth Hub sites. So one of the executive directors mentioned that it reminded her of the disciplines coming together to help youth, like that really like that wraparound service. That image is that of like huddling around a youth and working together to come up with a plan. And so then we actually used these workshops to help build our own Youth Advisory Council. And so we have representatives from each of the hub sites' own individual Youth Advisory Councils, as well as some other youth from communities that don't yet have a Huddle site. And so we were able to work with this Youth Advisory Council to really flesh out the rest of the brand. So the visuals that Kelsey's going to go over in a moment, as well as we made a video to kind of launch our new name and brand, which was created with youth submitted footage. So they filmed themselves on their own phones, and we put it together to make a really awesome video that we'll show you in a moment. And we have this really great active youth network that's been helping us breathe life into this brand throughout this whole process. And throughout the province of the initiative right now, across all the different Huddle sites and our own initiative-wide Youth Advisory Council, we have over 70 youth meeting on a monthly basis, providing direction for this initiative. So it's been a really great way to have youth involved in this co-creation in every single level and in every aspect of it, even things like evaluation and clinical service innovation that are, maybe not the things that you automatically assume youth want to be involved in. But anyway, I'm going to pass it over to Kelsey to talk a little bit more about the visuals.
Awesome. So you can see here we have our logo of Huddle and our tagline, Here for Youth. We chose a really simple, modern font for Huddle, while also using some little tricks to nestle the letters together and putting a little arch in the H. And a lot of the branding is balancing a clean, modern, more mature look, but also keeping that friendliness and that approachability and bright colors to it as well. Our tagline, Here for Youth, we wanted to keep it simple. It logistically, it tells people who this initiative is for. And it also just speaks to why we're doing this work, why we're all here. We are here for youth, period. So here we have an example of our color palette. Again, sort of keeping those like bright, eye-catching, warm, inviting colors, but using a pretty clean graphic style. We also drew some inspiration from the colors of the medicine wheel, which you can see a little bit more clearly here, as well as looking for those warm, inviting colors. Up House really took inspiration from some of the drawings that youth did as part of the workshops, because that was one of the options that they could provide input by drawing as well. And so they created these illustrations that we could use on our website or posters or social media. And some of them are more abstract and some of them have more meaning behind them. So we specifically did a rainbow illustration. We have a medicine wheel is in the bottom right corner. And our graphic designer, who is Swampy Cree from Churchill, helped us develop the eagle feather icon as well. And that was part of our efforts to really build in some of those inclusive elements right into the DNA of the brand. We developed the H icon, which is what we use for our tiny applications like on social media. Hopefully you've all seen it. If you aren't already, you can follow us on social media at Huddle Manitoba. And during this branding process, we also developed a brand new website, which you are hopefully also familiar with. And it's mostly targeted at youth and kind of telling them about each of the hubs and getting them comfortable with the idea and what to expect. But it also includes some information in the about pages and the how to support youth that's a bit more targeted towards parents or service providers, guidance counselors, teachers, that kind of thing. And we also created some swag. Originally, when we went through this with Up House, they created these for us just kind of for fun, like to show us how the brand might live and breathe in real life. And then we showed this to our youth council and they were like, so when do we get our toque? So we did go ahead and we created a bunch of these materials. We made toques and mugs and these name badges for all the staff who are working in the hubs to really create that warm and friendly atmosphere, kind of the opposite of what a young person might think of as like a cold clinical waiting room. We really want to do the opposite at our hubs and make it as warm, as inviting as possible. So I won't read all of these, but this is just some of the feedback that we got when we were later in the process. We were bringing all these visuals to the youth, to our smaller youth advisory and getting their feedback. And they really appreciated the inclusivity in the brand, the warm colors and the clean aesthetic, and really, most of all, just how much say they had in the process from start to finish.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey. I think we're just going to wrap our little branding presentation up with our video. So I'm just going to stop sharing and pull that up. And I hope that it plays all right for you. If you're noticing any lagging or glitching or anything like that, you can always come see it on our homepage on our website as well.
We need a place.
We need a place where we can feel safe.
We need a place where we can share our thoughts.
We need a place where we can be ourselves.
We need a place where we can be honest and expect honesty in return.
We need a place where we can cry, talk, learn, rest, grow.
We need a place where we can come together and heal.
We need a place where we can contribute.
We need each other.
We need Huddle.
We need Huddle.
We need Huddle.
Come to Huddle for help from a qualified mental health counselor,
Psychologist,
career advisor, peer supporter,
Nurse practitioner.
elder, or knowledge keeper in one place where you're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. We're actually going to switch gears a little bit and learn from some of our hubs that have started up through the last year and have started seeing youth. So I would like to start off by welcoming our folks over at Huddle Brandon. So we have Dwayne Dick, who's the Executive Director of Westman Youth for Christ, as well as Sean Funk, the Director of Huddle Brandon. And so they're going to be joining us to talk a little bit about their startup process and really keep any questions in mind that you might have for the folks over in Brandon. And you can throw them in the Q&A or in the chat. And then at the end of the session, we'll invite them back to join us and answer any of those questions that you have. And we can also post those online afterwards as well. But yeah, so team at Brandon, I pass it over to you if you want to unmute yourselves and turn your cameras on. Dwayne and Sean, are you able to join us? I think they were here. Maybe they stepped out for a moment.
I'm here. I can't hear Dwayne. I see him talking.
One.
There we go.
Is that working now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Thanks. Bad connection. All right, so there we go. Good to be with everyone today. Alicia, thanks for the introduction. And Sean is here, and he'll jump in and tell me where I'm off base on something or other and correct me. But I'll carry most of this and not put that on him. By the way, if you're an agency here and you want some insight into exactly how things work, a year into something, and you're just like yeah, that's all great ideas, but how does it actually work? You got to talk to Sean because he's our director at Huddle here in Brandon, and he can answer all those questions for you. So I'm going to walk through Alicia's kindly set up agenda items for us here and kind of just give you the background on how this all went. So here in Brandon, Youth for Christ is the lead agency. We came together a couple of years ago, before this, just at the end of the call, actually. The time frame for the call was open. We came together as a group led by Chris Bromley, who works with Shared Health, so he's part of our Prairie Mountain Health. So he set up a meeting with a number of agencies, and we went over the proposal. In our community, it was the need was obvious for us. A lot of us have been on committees together in the past, different things around the community. So we had a good sort of sense of need in our community from a variety of agencies, and we had a good sense of kind of each other. We all know each other, again, from different committees and different work and shared projects in the past. So when this opportunity came up to throw in a proposal for it, we pulled it together pretty quick. I'd say in about a week. Pulled in all the different pieces with other partner agencies. We had a pretty wide spread. It's always been, for Brandon anyway, most of our projects have always focused on sustainability. That's a really high priority for us here. If we start something, we like the idea of continuing it on. So it was important for us to start with a wide base of support. So we have a group of lead agencies kind of officially have signed on, and that includes Prairie Mountain Health with Chris, Brandon University for data collection through Rachel Heron, Brandon Friendship Center, Brandon School Division, Career Employment, and coming on a little later was CERC. Joined our team as well. So that's kind of our group of lead agencies who give direction to all of this. So we started off by meeting. We went through the application. We put together a budget and submitted the whole piece. We started with YFC we had some staff who had come on potentially for this. So once our application was successful, we had our assistant intern director to kind of help get the whole thing started and ramped up. He was with us up until May, working with that. We set ourselves up as lead agencies to do a lot of communication and to try and craft this whole thing together. The backbone team was great in giving direction as we kind of started and kind of shaped all this. Our local group, we ran everything past our local group of lead agencies, including hiring. When we hired a director, for example, when we hired Sean had been with YFC, leading another program working with homelessness. And when we looked at hiring him, I passed around his resume and his experience in that to the other lead agencies to sort of get their input, to ask questions, to invite them to an interview if that was their interest, to sort of get a sense in their input. And we kind of left the hiring, even though this was an internal transfer on our part, as far as agency went, we wanted to give them the input into the hiring. They had been part of other hirings. We'd had them actually sit in on interviews and an interview for the position with a potential director who ultimately didn't work out. But so we gave them the freedom to full access in the hiring. As working with the sustainability time, there we go. Working with the sustainability piece requires that we spread things out. So just for an example, this is kind of how we approach all of this. So when we have identified a need in the community, our first thought is, what agency in Brandon is already kind of excellent at this, whatever that gap is? And then we would go to that agency and ask if they wanted to join, if they wanted to participate by investing time with their staff to be part of our lead agency possibly, and just invite them into Huddle rather than sort of going and hiring or that kind of piece. So we've really diversified. So on site, all of our agencies, all of our partner agencies have staff on site. That was all part of their original partnership in this, is that all of us have donated, so to speak, staff time to start Huddle, which I can get into why that's fantastic in a moment. But I just want to run through quickly the pillars, because this is important part of the application processes. So in our case, we got for each of the pillars, so primary care, substance use, mental health, Indigenous housing, and the cultural, spiritual aspects. We have one of our partner agencies is an expert in that field. So for example, with primary care, we have Prairie Mountain Health sits on our lead agency. For employment, we have Career Employment Youth Services sits on our lead agency. Substance youth, we have AFM and Prairie Mountain Health. For mental health, we have Prairie Mountain Health, we have CERC, we have private counselors. For Indigenous, we have the Friendship Center. We also have some other Indigenous agencies that have participated at different levels and with their staff and along as well. For housing, we have youth. We do housing. We do a lot of housing stuff here, so we're kind of the housing experts. And for peer and family support, we have staff, we have our youth council, and we have counselors, and we're looking at we're recruiting for some future staffing positions to help fill that need. So our concept has been that there's no agency that really is an expert on everything. So we've tried to create between us this kind of collection of people who are expert, agencies who are expert in different areas, and get them to work together for the betterment of youth. I guess there was a question, move on to our location renovation, but just on the agency pieces, I want to say as you guys are looking at this application and you're bringing your teams together, when you bring together a bunch of people who all work in different agencies, some of them very institutional, like our Shared Health and Prairie Mountain Health, and some of them really not, like us and Friendship Center and other nonprofits. There's different cultures, there's different ways of doing things, there's different processes. For example, we're doing a hiring. So we want to do service purchase agreement. So we want one of our partner agencies to hire staff, and then those staff work in Huddle, and we pay it out of this budget. So they will be staff of another agency working in Huddle as part of the Huddle team, being paid by that other partner agency, so not by us. So we're starting to mix cultures and stuff, and all of a sudden you're mixing unions into the mix, and so that gets to be a whole different question when you have nonprofits. It's a pretty straightforward process. Other ones, it's with unions, for example, it's not so straightforward. So we're trying to navigate all those pieces. We're doing memorandums of understandings, MOUs, between our agencies, and between some of us, it's really just simple words, one page. We all know what you mean. Let's just be clear, and it's done. In other places, they kind of want to lawyer it up and 20 pages long. So we're navigating again. How do we do this for the betterment of youth, for the betterment of our community, and how do we meet in the middle and we work all this? And we found that it really is very much about relationships. We trust each other a lot. We can solve problems through texting sometimes, which is, you know, we answer each other's texts and we get back and forth pretty quick. And that can ease things along because there's just natural conflicts between the way people do things. And so just a word up front on the challenges. It's great working with multiple agencies. We fully support it. This is why this is our model, but there are different challenges in doing that. One of the bonuses is that youth who connect with those agencies connect with Huddle easier. So youth who don't know anything about Huddle but know about CERC or know about the Friendship Center will come to Huddle because they're meeting with that agency. So we get the credibility of those agencies now get attached to Huddle, and we see it makes an easier pipeline for youth to get those expanded services. What do I got for time here? Okay, a few minutes. Location, we are downtown Brandon. So we got into this building. It was an empty building. We renovated it out. I mean, empty as in it had 4 walls and a roof and 2 floors. So we gutted it. It was gutted. So we built it from there out to our specifications. We designed it to maximize use space. So for example, our clinical room, we are setting it up so that we can hide the bed and like doing a Murphy bed for the clinical table, that kind of thing, so that we can use that room for counseling as well, so that we can expand the number of private counseling rooms that we have. We have a group room that we do ceremonies in. We have group counseling. We do yoga in. We do anything that requires group. When we did that room, we designed it specifically so that we could do ceremonies like smudging and stuff in there. So the ventilation is a little bit more intense, and we did some other things in there to seal it off from the rest of the building, so that we could be freer to do some of the things that have smell or smoke or whatever in that room. City was part of our partnership all the way from the beginning. They were helped us with our application. So when it came to renovations and permitting, they were very helpful. Very helpful in that I think we actually finished the building before we got our final permit, so to speak. It was really quite. They were really quite involved. So they made things as easy as possible for us, and they're continuing on with funding and supports with us. So that'd been, because they were part of our partnership right off the hop, that was really helpful. You want to know about our team structure and recruitment? So where we're at, yep. So we have a director, and right now we have a director and 2 peer support, potentially 3 peer support staff. We are trying to recruit a family counselor that may come through us, or that may come as a partnership through another agency. And we also have a clinical position that we're trying to recruit for in partnership with Prairie Mountain Health. So they would do the hiring, and we would SPA, have a service purchase agreement with Prairie Mountain Health for their staff to work in Huddle. So that's where our team is at right now. And we're expanding right now we've been expanding with private counselors to meet the need. Because in our community, counseling is it's tough. And we don't have a psychiatrist. Our community, I think, only has 1 or 2 in Brandon. So getting that kind of support in Huddle is a bit of a dream right now, but just because nobody can secure that in Brandon. Apparently, tough community that way. So we have a youth council, which we started right off the top. They were functional 3 or 4 months before we opened, or before, just as we were opening or whatever. And they've had input. Sean runs almost every new initiative, everything from design. We had youth council involvement in the design of the interior. Yeah, they do all the programming stuff. When we send, when we want to head off in a direction, we send ideas past youth council. They make decisions and give their input and whatever else and send it back. So a lot of what the Huddle looks like and a lot of what it offers is either initiated by the youth council or has been run past youth council for their input. Family council is one that we're looking at creating. We haven't yet, and that's a slow piece on our end. We know it's a need and it's an area that we want to get into, and we're hoping that when we can hire a family advocate position, once we hire for that staff, that one of the first things on their job will be to put together a family council to work with parents of the youth. Yeah, so I'm actually done a couple minutes early, so I can like hand it over if you anything else can happen for questions at the end. I think I've gone through my list.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Really appreciate that. I'll actually just throw out the link to the Huddle Brandon page on our website. I really recommend checking it out. There's some photos of the space and their calendar, things like that you could take a look at. And we had the privilege of being there for the formal launch back in May, and it was just such an awesome experience. And they've just got the best youth council. It was the best. So thank you so much for all your hard work, Dwayne and Sean, and all your partner agencies for everything that you've done over at your site. And now we are going to invite the team from Huddle Broadway, which is in Winnipeg. And so I'll invite Marion Cooper, who's the CEO of CMHA Winnipeg and Manitoba, as well as Levi LaBelle, and they are the manager of the Huddle Broadway site. And then Jess Lee is also joining us, and she is a youth advisor with Huddle Broadway, as well as part of our initiative-wide youth advisory council as well. So thank you so much to the Huddle Broadway team. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. So bear with me for like 15 seconds. And can I just check in to see if you can see that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. How about now?
Unfortunately not. If you shoot me a quick email, I can share it for you.
Okay. Okay. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought I've been able to do this before, but just when you think you've mastered something.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay, I will send that to you. Okay, there we go. So I'll get started while we wait for that PowerPoint slide to just show up there. CMHA is the Canadian Mental Health Association, and we're the Manitoba division, so we're a provincial organization, and we're also a branch for Winnipeg and the Interlake Eastern regions. So we have both a provincial and a service delivery focus within a variety of communities within Manitoba, and support the branches outside of Winnipeg around their collaboration and engagement with the CMHA Federation. So really happy to be here, very excited about this work and the continued interest to grow huddles across Manitoba, and to support all of you as you consider preparing proposals. And as was said previously by our colleagues from Brandon, it does make a big difference when you can see this work in action. So we would also welcome any of you who want to be a part of the day-to-day work of huddles to join us at our huddle on Broadway, and of course any of the huddles across the province. Very welcoming places. So do you have that presentation?
Yes, I just got it. I'm pulling it open right now.
So CMHA began its work around preparing a proposal when the call came out, And we were very lucky to have a variety of very strong partnerships that we had established over many years as we had been doing work around supporting youth in many different settings, including schools, but also youth transitioning out of the child welfare system through our Futures Forward partnership. So this seemed like such a natural place for us to kind of go based on all of that work that we were doing through Futures Forward and other youth-focused initiatives. But it then allowed us to think about the integrated youth service delivery model and through a lens of innovation and what can we do that's different for youth and families to make it easier for them to get the mental health and well-being supports that they need to thrive. So that was really at the heart of the proposal that we pulled together. We quickly engaged many of the partners we've been working with on other initiatives and a renewed partnership to support a proposal that then has lent itself to the development of a governance structure to support our Huddle on Broadway. So if you move to the next slide, you'll see here that our core partners are very diverse organizations with a real strong focus on youth serving agencies, family focused organizations like Family Dynamics, organizations that are supporting Indigenous youth and cultural reclamation, and newcomers and transitioning to the context of Canadian living and the challenges of that transitional process, and then a focus on recovery and addiction and substance use health supports like the Bruce Oak Recovery Center, and primary care and trauma-informed approaches that Clinic brought and has supported us to be very connected to. And then a partner of ours has been the University of Winnipeg on a number of levels, knowing that post-secondary is such a key place where so many young people start to struggle, making that transition from high school into university. We knew that they had a lot to share and a lot of resources to be able to support youth in that transition, but also as a resource to help us look at finding the right space, the right building and the right community for our youth hub. And so the University of Winnipeg, and in particular, the Neighborhood Renewal Corporation. So those were our core partners as we kind of got going on this journey. And then we also very early on, even before we had our proposal submitted, we began to establish and strengthen our Youth Advisory Committee and to grow that, as well as our Caring Adult Advisory Committee. And so those have been fundamental parts of our governance structure, that nothing for us without us, being a philosophy and a principle of how CMHA has always worked in our stakeholder engagement process, and very important in this work. So we can move along. So early on, after the proposal process was complete and we were given an opportunity to receive funding and move this vision into reality, we started hosting community visioning sessions. And those sessions were just so integral to the work that has really, I think, helped us to stay connected to the needs and the desire to see something very different be available for young people and families and our communities. So that stakeholder process of engagement led to convening a number of sessions and allowed us to have very, very engaged commitment. And you'll see in this picture here the opportunity that we've had through many dialogues and through many sessions, even during the pandemic, people coming together and planning and thinking about how we want this to look. We had 26 partner agencies, schools, organizations, and community groups that represent the downtown and the West Broadway area, and a whole host of in-person and virtual sessions that have, I think, really been so integral to how our work has unfolded. And so that's been a very incredibly important part of even the proposal development process. As all of you are thinking about putting proposals together, not waiting for the outcome of the proposals to happen, but to bring your partners together and to really allow for that deep contribution and vision around what your service offering could look like. And really building on what was already said about the Brandon work, that nobody is the expert in everything. And so building on the strengths of so many different organizations is really, I think, fundamental to this work. And the visioning sessions have allowed us to know what those strengths are and to celebrate those gifts that each organization brings and to really leverage those strengths in a really powerful way. Moving on. So our location, I've mentioned University of Winnipeg Neighborhood Renewal Corporation, and we were very fortunate to be given 3 different options to consider that were sort of within the footprint of the downtown area. And the one opportunity that just, I think, captured our imagination was West Broadway Commons, which is a joint project between the University of Winnipeg and St. Benedict's Table, which is a congregation of the Anglican Church. And they had developed a social housing, affordable housing apartment. And on the main level was this open canvas waiting for the right tenant. And we said, that will work for us. And so we, even very early on, as soon as we got the green light from the United Way to move forward on developing this huddle, we moved on a big project to develop the space at 533 Broadway. It was a great location. It was accessible. It was close to transit, close to schools and other youth serving providers. So it just seemed like a winning location. And we'll affectionately refer to our huddle as Huddle on Broadway. And we have some fun with that because the location has really been, I think, just such an important part of the early success we've seen as young people and families have reached out to us in that location. Moving along. Pre-construction. So when I say we had a completely empty canvas, this was our canvas. It was concrete, and we had this to work with, and we had a very limited budget. So we had to get very clever about how to optimize those precious resources that were available for the capital development, and then find other resources to create the kind of space that our stakeholders in our youth advisory and our trusted adult advisory had told us would be the kind of space that needed to be in place to make this huddle really, really the place that it needed to be and that youth deserve to have. And so this is the beginning, and it's hard to imagine this time last year it looked like this pretty much. And so within a year it's been transformed. And it really is quite an amazing place. We had a great plan. We had great partners in terms of our construction team and the architects that really came on board as partners. So that's the other thing that I think is really important as you're thinking about this work. And this look and feel actually predates the Huddle brand, if you can imagine. And we had been presented with this look and feel based on the feedback we got from youth. And this is what they had recommended. And this is what the architects at number 10 came forward with us around this time last year, actually. And it just aligned so beautifully with what ended up coming out of the Huddle branding process. So it really was meant to be. This is the actual space. You'll see here that there's a lot of sunshine that pours into this space. And that's the energy that really is also contained in all of the people who connect to the huddle. They may not feel that way when they show up, but their interactions really do bring sunshine, and they feel a sense of hope and relief from the connections that they're able to make there. And the space really, I think, reflects the kind of environments that help people to heal and to feel connected. So here's another depiction of that space. and this is what it really looks like. And you'll see that you only get a glimpse of it. I would invite all of you to come for a tour and to check out all of the huddles in your journey of preparing your proposals, to get inspired and to then think about what's your unique approach to what this could look like for your community. Because every community will have different needs, and that's an important consideration. And that's really at the heart of the co-design process when you're developing your proposal and developing your service, that it needs to be developed with community in a way that reflects the needs and the desires of what your community is really going to connect to. So I think we can take the next slide, and I'll transition here. But a very huge part of the work that we've been doing at Huddle Broadway and all of the huddles is really understanding deeply the importance of culture as an intervention. And we have a cultural space that we developed with elders and with knowledge keepers and with youth, and have been very humbled by all of the learnings that have informed this space. And we had a huge mural project, and a project that was led by an artist, Jeannie Red Eagle, and others that were supporting this. And then the youth made it possible. And it's a spiritual space. And what we hear from young people is they want to connect with purpose and meaning, and connect to identity. And for some of our young people who are Indigenous, it's a reclamation of culture and identity. And for non-Indigenous youth as well, this really is so meaningful and special for them. And they get so much from the cultural offerings that are really a part of our core programming. The other thing I want to just say as I kind of pass things on to my colleague, Levi, we've been very lucky with the recruitment process. I had the opportunity to meet Levi through another recruitment process, and right away I knew he was the kind of leader that we wanted for our youth huddle. So Levi LaBelle has been our manager for youth hub at CMHA, and supporting all of the partners and the development of our programming. And he has really set the tone for developing a really healthy, dynamic team, and a service array and team that can really support with the broad range of services and programs and disciplines that make a youth huddle really respond to the needs that are out there. So with that, Levi's going to take us through the next few slides.
Thank you so much, Marian. Yeah, I just really want to focus, I guess, on beginning with the recruitment process, but really early on in my work, it was really a focus of ours to imagine what a youth hub would actually look like. And before, we were really engaging in the integrating of our core partners. What would that look like? How would we meet all of those pillars, and who would we need to have do that? So we kind of came up with a logic model based on the expected outcomes from the province. And we started to try and imagine how we could meet those with the limited funding that we had to hire just a handful of staff. And really with that, we came up with really needing to have someone who could do peer support and facilitate, and the need for a mental health clinician. And so that's what we started to look for. And if you can change the slide, please. So we really tried to align those proposed positions to existing agency positions, including some of the mental health clinical work that CMHA Manitoba and Winnipeg is already doing, and as well as peer support and the facilitation that happens in their learning and wellness center. So we assessed the outcomes that we know we needed to do for the role distribution, developed key role strategies, and then we really took it to our partners. So just like Huddle Brandon, we engaged our core partnership in the hiring process quite deliberately and very fully. So they helped to vet resumes as they came in. They sat in on interviews, and we really wanted to make sure that we were getting the right people to get the right team at the right time. The next slide, please. So our first person that we hired was a mental health clinician. We knew we were looking for a registered social worker with a specialty in mental health clinical skills. Our mental health clinician provides one-on-one counseling, both as an appointment and a drop-in basis using the Step Care 2.0 one-at-a-time model, just to really make sure that we are cutting down on those wait lists, making sure that each session is effective for the participant. And it's been very successful thus far. We haven't had the need to start a wait list, which is fantastic, and we are able to see everyone as they come in or within a very short time frame. Our mental health clinician also oversees case management here on site, provides referrals, clinical assessment for existing service partners, provides counseling full-time to youth and caring adults, both on their own and together, and as well as in group sessions. Our mental health clinician also co-facilitates support groups such as Our Space, which is for 2S LGBTQIA+ youth, and some life skills groups with our Futures Forward program in partnership with CMHA. The second person we hired was a peer facilitator who combines trained expertise and lived experience to support youth in one-on-one. They're really the backbone of what we do here, because they are really in charge of the welcome that people experience when they walk in the front door. And although we expect that everyone is a part of that welcome, they are really the person who often gets to meet youth first when they get here. They're the first professional that they get to interact with, and that's really where the assessment starts to begin. So our Huddle peer facilitator provides necessary service navigation within Huddle services, but also with the services of our partners and the broader community through referrals and follow-up. They also provide peer support in one-on-one and group sessions that takes place both within Huddle and also out in the community. They also do some group co-facilitation around psychosocial education, and they assist in the organization of our Discovery College, which I can talk a little bit more about at another time. Perhaps you'll have to call me, and we'll talk more about what that looks like. As Marion mentioned, our Indigenous cultural supports, and it's really central to a lot of the work we do. That mural on those 4 walls came out of some very deep conversations that we were having with our youth advisory, and really was an 8-month process in order to develop those images and get them up on the walls. But since then and around then, we've also made sure that we have one-on-one culturally appropriate counseling for those who are looking to reconnect with culture. We have opportunities for folks to participate in cultural crafts and ceremonies, leave the city and attend sweat lodges, go medicine picking. We've gone on a number of medicine picking walks as well, nature walks, learning about different medicines that are local to the area, and just having access to those medicines so that they can smudge and really engage with cultural healing practices even within our space. Some of our other program offerings are, we have, low barrier resources like access to pamphlets. We have televisions. We call it with mental health TV, where we create, slideshows and videos and pull things from TikTok and YouTube and craft it all together so that folks who are, just, spending some time here, maybe having a coffee, trying to figure out what it is that they need, they can, still be engaging and learning and, accessing mental health supports maybe a little more indirectly. Our Discovery College is based on the Recovery College model, which is a social learning model that, really brings learners together with folks who have lived experience, with folks who have learned experience or learned expertise in a topic, and they create and craft courses together so that they are, you know, as accurate and appropriate and meaningful as they possibly can be. We've been working with the YMCA on their new Y-Mind project, which is we're happy to be bringing to other huddles in the network. We have an OCD recovery support program with one-on-one counseling and group supports, motivational enhancement and readiness supports. So we work with folks from AFM and also folks from Brusoak around addiction support services and really helping folks through those stages of change. And we have a number of family recovery supports, including CRAFT, which is a community reinforcement and family training program for folks who are living with people who have the lived experience of addictions. And we have family peer support outreach as well.
Sorry, Levi. We're going to need to hop to our next part of the agenda, but if there's any closing thoughts that you have before we close, we can also come back with some questions for you as well.
Absolutely. The list really just goes on. So I'm just going to, you know, talk your ears off about the things that we do here. But if I can leave the final thought maybe to Jessica to maybe bring you some a message from our youth advisory.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Macam. I'm part of the Youth Advisory Council and I'm currently right now working at the Youth Huddle for mental health camp running from Green Team. So hi everyone. And just about little bit information about the Youth Advisory Council. It's very important for us like youth to have like a part of the planning process. Looking for like the furniture, colors, because it makes us feel like welcome, and anyone who feels welcome right now in our space is feeling like what I was feeling the first time I saw it out of the plan. And the youth huddles or Broadway, the ones that we created with the advisory council, we did like the locker that's very important for people who has like a lot of stuff coming to our space, need security that their things are not going to be taken or being lost. And having the locker feels them warm and welcome. And we also have give foods and things for resources, so very important for us. And the youth council, the advisory council of Broadway are celebrating 2 weeks from now our 1-year anniversary. Yay! Which is everybody's excited because we're gonna have a party for 1 year. So that's everything. Thank you again for coming and listening to our song. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and congratulations on the 1-year anniversary. I'll also put Huddle Broadway's link to the website in the chat as well. They also have lots of fun pictures, and you can check out more about their calendars. But I will be passing it over to Pam to talk a little bit more about the process from now forward with the call for proposals.
Thanks so much, Leisha. I have to say thank you, Huddle Brandon. Thank you, Huddle Broadway. There's been a few times when I've followed Jessica, and following that energy and that enthusiasm is very challenging. Thank you so much, Jessica, for bringing that message to this this session. It's just so critical. Thanks for that, and congratulations on the 1-year anniversary. Big milestone. I don't have a lot to say. It's the details in terms of the timeline are on the slide. I think our big message would be, as you've heard from the presentations, this is about partnerships. This is about systems and service transformation. It's about youth engagement and working differently. So certainly different from other call for proposals that I've been involved in from a government process. This is not rigid with a rigid closing date. Well, the closing date is the closing date, but not rigid in terms of we can't talk along the way. So we hope that this is just the start of an opportunity to have ongoing conversation, not just with us as the Huddle Backbone team, if we can support you in your proposal, but with other Huddle sites across the province. This is all about making it work for all involved. So if you have questions, if there's anything that we can do along the way as you're working to put together a proposal, we would be more than happy to assist. So that's what we're hoping will happen throughout the month of September. You'll see the proposal review will happen throughout October, November. We're putting together that review committee now, hoping to have representation from both the northern and southern regions. So these truly are community-focused proposals and discussions around the review. And our goal is to have funding decisions made, and this would be through the Strategic Steering Committee by December, with a formal announcement then, and giving you as much time as possible to do that site development and partner onboarding in the early parts of the new year, moving towards a formal launch in June of 2023. Tight timeline, we certainly hear that from not only our colleagues across the country, but our folks here in Manitoba. So we know it's a big ask. So really looking for proposals that are showing real strong readiness in terms of a location identified, partnership development well underway, youth engagement in process, and really the potential to be able to get up and going pretty quickly. So that's us. I don't have a lot of time left, but anxious to open it up for questions. If you do have questions that we don't get to today, or if we don't have answers to, we're committing to put them on the website through an FAQ sort of a format, but I'll open it up.
And feel free to either just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask any questions that you have out loud, or feel free to throw anything in the chat, and Pam and I will keep our eyes on it.
Hey, Olivia, let me just throw this real quick out there for people. We started a local clinical advisory group. I think if Sean asked him to quickly just explain what that is, because I think that's really helpful for people to get an idea of how it can work out locally and practically. So, Sean.
Yeah, my name's Sean. I'm the director of Huddle Brandon. He, him are my pronouns. We've, this summer, Chris Bromley and I have really, with Prairie Mountain Health, have really focused on developing a local clinically advisory committee. As you've already heard a couple times, the point of Huddle Brandon, beyond access for youth, is really system transformation, right? Really changing the way youth access services, and that can happen at a Huddle site, but it's going to take a lot of intention and working together of the frontline staff that are there. And they, like you heard from Dwayne earlier, everyone who's working at Huddle are coming from a very different culture, and when you put them all in the same environment, they're like, well, what do I do here? Should I be seeing this youth? How should I be seeing with this youth? What's our shared screening tool? How do we make this work? And one thing I'm learning, because I'm not from healthcare originally, is that it's good to feel those problems together and then come together in a way that we work to resolve them in a way that works for our youth in our context. So we're feeling the problems now as we've gotten going a year in, and now we're starting to come up with shared ways forward, as well as getting input from our youth advisory committee on it as we go along. So the integration, I'm starting to see the integration pieces come together as we're almost a year into this, but it takes time, right? It takes time to get together, start doing things, start having problems, and then coming together around resolving them. So that's my little plug for the fun work of this fun and challenging work of Clinical Advisory Committee this summer.
Thanks so much for that, Sean. That really is the complex systems transformation and co-design work. So I appreciate you sharing that. Helga, I see you had a question and have your hand up.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much. I'm glad my schedule allowed me to pop onto this this call. So first, I just wanted to speak to the Brandon Huddle for a little bit. Firstly, Dwayne and Sean, hi. Brandon's my home stomping ground, so I'm really encouraged with what you've done in Brandon. It's that part of the province is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm particularly interested in, and maybe I know there's a couple other folks on from the Northern Health region. maybe a further conversation around how you partnered with a provincially funded service delivery organization, that being Prairie Mountain Health, and the union issue, and really that you did layer the clinical piece, because of course, as you know, the provincial healthcare system too is going through massive transformation, massive challenges on many fronts, and it is only through partnering with agencies such as YFC, for instance, that we can collectively get done what our population needs to have done. So just want to commend you. I really enjoyed the presentations, and it was just a really refreshing piece of what is contained in the rest of my day today. So thank you very much.
Helga, I'll give you a quick answer to that, because it is all about relationships. Chris Bromley is amazing, and he's in a good place so he's really our partner there. So he's the one who's helping us navigate. And for the most part, we try to avoid all of the legalese stuff that really gets complex. But we're stepping into it with the service purchase agreement. So we're just kind of dipping our toes into what that's going to look like. But he's really the guy who's navigating. But he also has the big view for the systems change. So I'm sure you have his contact. Just talk to Chris directly. He's really open about sharing everything he can about this too. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Dwayne. Thank you.
And if it's helpful to add, so this shift, this co-design, this transformation is being tackled not only at the community level, as Dwayne and Sean described, but also at the strategic steering committee level with that all of government approach, with looking at broad agreements across existing service providers, that sort of thing too. So it's really hopefully meeting in the middle in a good way. Morag, I see your hand up as well.
Hello, thank you. My question especially has come from hearing about being able to bring in more of that clinical piece through those purchase agreements. For the budget, I didn't see in this call for proposals a breakdown of kind of limits for startup costs and then ongoing costs like there was in the 2020. Is there a limit for kind of what we can be allocating where in the first year this time?
We can go back to the call and make sure that we've been as clear as we can about that. Our understanding is that the startup costs are in the area of the 245. I hope I'm saying that number right. And that ongoing costs would be with an operating budget of up to 400,000 annually. So we have been because this is new, this is transformative, we haven't been really specific in terms of what startup costs are defined as. Those could be anything from the site and renovation startup costs to the cost of hiring a project manager, as some of the sites have referenced, to facilitate that transformation. But those would be in that initial number of that 245,000. But happy to talk that through more specifically with you if that's useful as you put your detailed budget together. I'm not seeing any other hands. Anticipating that your brains are processing a whole bunch of questions, and that those might come to you as you're going through your day. So looking at the time, maybe Alicia, before I throw it back to you, if we could just reiterate our thanks for you being here today. We so appreciate the interest, and we're so excited in terms of what might be the outcome of this call and the potential for integrated youth services sites in the northern and southern regions. Please do reach out. We're anxious to talk. Our goal would be to get to the September 30th deadline and there not really be any surprises in terms of what's coming forward and where we're all at together on this. So please do reach out if it's useful. And with that, Alicia, if I could turn it back to you.
Yeah, I just threw our email address in the chat. So if you want to contact us for any reason, even if you have any technical issues with any of the proposal pieces, if you have any challenges with the online form or with the budget template or anything like that, please feel free to email us. We'd be happy to troubleshoot any issues or walk through anything together. But it's just been a really wonderful afternoon, and thank you so much to the teams at Huddle Broadway and Huddle Brandon for joining us. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all the things that that come out of this proposal process. So thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. And also, any other questions, feel free to send them our way. And if we have a big list, we'll post them on the website. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.